This is a pretty standard n8n agent where we have a trigger and agent step where we specify what tools to run when. We have a model, memory, as well as the actual tools to connect to third-party softwares. I have a few problems with people right now shilling n8n as an ultimate solution for all of the problems. Unfortunately, it is not built to create a really in-depth conversational workflows. This is not the best tool that you can use if you are trying to build agents that talk to customers, aka customer-centric agents. For this use cases, we have a software like Voiceflow, and we have been building on the software for 2 years now. I've been showing it a lot on this channel. The difference right now is that they added the agent step, which is a direct competitor to the n8n agent step. It is not a software that is entirely competing with n8n because you will still use n8n for linear workflows that are either designed to run the automations on the backend, even with the agent step, or if the user is providing you a reply and this reply triggers this webhook, you're not generating and outputting this reply to the user, and you're not trying to create a dynamic conversation because there is no way to fully control each step of the flow in the n8n. There is no way to deploy it to multiple channels easily. There is no proper dashboard and the conversational API endpoints to design your actual interfaces, and there is no way to properly integrate voice. So these are the 4 no's that should turn you off from the n8n if you're trying to build, an agents that talk to customers, and you should look at the Voiceflow. What we used to do with the Voiceflow is build also a linear agents that are calling the blocks step by step and actually calling different API endpoints to retrieve some sort of an information. So this is an example of the projects that we have been building. In here, you can see we have an intro, we have a classify intent, then we're verifying the intent. And if the intent is, for example, a billing question, then we're capturing the information, we are updating the memory, then we're calling the API, or we're calling multiple APIs one by one. Right now, you can do everything in one step that is called an agent step. Let me show you how it is working. If we test the agent right now, and if we say something like, "Hi, how are you doing?" you will see that after we set the bot persona, we are sitting on this block. We're not moving anywhere just because it is smartly identifying what path to take, and I will explain what it means later. So now, if we say something like, "What products do you sell?" we will take the product path and go to another sub agent that specifically trained to respond to the product and service inquiries. And we can say, "Do you have 4 cameras set?" And then we can say, "What is the price?" It is accessing the knowledge base and getting information from there. If we now say, "Okay, can I book an appointment?" we will go to another sub agent once we provide the details, like, "I want to talk to someone and create a meeting." Let's see. We will be asked what is our location. Let's say LA. It is already connected to one prompt, which is my own software suite built on top of the high level, and it is connected to contacts as well as the calendar through multiple endpoints to verify if the contact already exists in our database And if not, before creating an appointment, it will actually create the contact. So let me show you how it's done. What kind of security setup? Let's say not sure. We are again sitting inside this agent. We do not have these complex workflows that needing to capture things one by one. Very similarly as before, like for example, running the tool, here you need to specify certain information so that we can input it here. And this description and everything is done internally right here. I'll show you how it's done. So we're get asked what's when we can chat. Okay, let's go to the calendar and let's say it's gonna be, let's do March 28th. Okay, it's gonna ask us for the time. This is the local time. Let me go to the calendar. Since we said that we're in the LA, let's say that this is gonna be 8 a.m. So 8 a.m. will be 6 p.m. here. If we say no, let's do 6 p.m. Sorry, 6 a.m. What is gonna do now? It's not gonna book it yet. It will verify if the date is available, the date and time. It looks like I need to set up as a new contact. I couldn't find your info. Can I get your email? Okay, so now let's say that it's gonna be whatever, like eugene@gmail.com. And Eugene, okay, let's say it's Eugene Kadzan. And let's say 585-262, whatever, some random number. So now it's actually saying that it found us, provide the different email address that you'd like to check in existing contact info. Use this one. So as you can see, it really booked an appointment with us for the 6 a.m. The 6 a.m. Time. It's actually 6 a.m. not 8 a.m. right? So I said 6 a.m. Yeah, I was about to say 8 a.m. So if we reload this calendar, right, this appointment was created, okay, and it was already attached to the contact because the contact can be found here, Eugene Kadzan, okay? And if we go to this contact has an email address that we provided during the chat, okay? So this is like eugene@gmail.com. And we can see that it created the opportunity, it created all other things, okay? So now we can easily reschedule or cancel the appointment. But let's me actually try to follow another sequence for another set of actions. We can say, hello, I want to get my billing information. Okay. So now, for security, can you please verify your account information? It is directly connected to the Airtable right here. And the Airtable has an account information. So let's say this will be our account number, but we will remove the first letter. It will give us an error just because this is not the account number with the right format. So we can say, oh, sorry, it should be this. And it will provide us the status as pending, okay? Now, okay, can I reschedule my appointment? Could you please provide the first name? Okay, but first I need to choose another time, please. Now it's what is date you're looking for this reschedule. Okay, can you first see the appointment that I have right now? My email is, what was the email here? Is this, okay? This is the email. Now, we are supposed to receive an appointment that was created here. It's gonna provide like the local time +4. Okay, we actually have a few confirmed, canceled, canceled, just because I was testing before. Okay, so confirmed appointment, which is the 4. So let's move it. Let's move it to our back, the one that is confirmed, and we have really the links to the meetings because it was also automatically created, and I will show you how it's done in the function. So we have a link that was automatically populated here. Okay, now your appointment with the Knights has been successfully rescheduled, and now it's this time. So it's not asking us for additional details just because we provided the email. So we authenticated inside the system and we rescheduled our appointment. The main thing here is that you can see appointment updated. So it updated our appointment. Now, what you need to understand is that besides the fact that we here have a precise control over each and everything, similarly, as what we could do in n8n if we would, for example, use the call n8n workflow tool to, call another workflow, which is gonna have, for example, the tools that are designed to reschedule an appointment. But besides that, we have all other like button step. We can provide the carousels. We can actually do the API calls and the capture steps. We can capture entities and do whatever we want after the information has been provided, if this is not enough. But the main point before going into the actual agent and explaining how it works on the backend and how functions are structured, I want to show you how easy it is to deploy it to other channels. Let's say that we want to deploy this agent through the SMS, right? What we can do, we can go to the one prompt, to the automation. By the way, the link in the description, so if you get the license, you get all the solutions already built in. So if you go to the omnichannel agent, and here, if you just go to the wait and reply, okay, we will publish this agent. While it's publishing, we will get an API key here. We'll copy this API key. And inside this workflow, we have the 2 steps, the Voiceflow launch. This is where we're launching the conversation. So we're going to replace it here. And we are going to replace the API key here. Okay, now we are saved. And if we go to the open phone, for example, let's find the actual number that I have inside the one prompt. Okay, here, let's say that this will be the number that we will use for the SMS. I already have the contact, I think, in the one prompt. Yeah, so it's one prompt number 1. Let's say, hello, I have a question. My name is Josh. Okay. So right now, it will capture both of the 3 replies, send it to our Voiceflow agent through the one prompt, and then generate the response inside this intent classification agent. And we can verify this by going through the automation, going to the omnichannel agent, and opening this 2 workflows one by one. Again, guys, so I'm showing these workflows and not going in depth into how they're built just because you have them, exactly already like I'm showing, and you just need to replace an API key. So we are triggering the SMS, right? So here you can see that the 2 SMSs from this number, right, from here, were received. If we then go into the step where we are seeing, actually generating the response, we'll see that it's waiting for 1 minute for us to actually provide all the questions. So we can technically skip it manually, because you would want to configure it if you're deploying it through SMS, Instagram, or WhatsApp. You would configure it to wait for 3 to 5 minutes to mimic human behavior and capture all the messages that the user will send during this time. And here, let's see what it's gonna do. Okay, it's launching the Voiceflow here. It's generating the reply. It's parsing the JSON. And now we're supposed to receive an SMS. Hi, Josh. What's your question? I'm here to help. Okay. So if we say, can I please check my billing information? If we go here, it is sitting on this agent. Since we mentioned the billing information, it will go to this specific sub agent, right? And start asking us about our account info. Here, if we upload it, okay, if we again push it manually, just so that we don't wait. And let's see what it's gonna give us. So here we can see that it's asking for the account number. Let's do something different. And in this case, we'll say, oh, okay, I think I have it. Should be this one. Okay. Now, this is the way how, people chat. It will capture all the messages and then also generate the response right here. Let's push it to another step one more time and wait for the messages to be received. So here you can see that we are getting the billing information from the Airtable here. Okay. Now, let me break down what is happening inside the Voiceflow. The first step is the bot persona. The second step is the actual agent step, which is the new step from the Voiceflow. If you create a new agent, you have the 4 main core blocks, besides the fact that you can specify the model here. You have the instructions block, you have the functions block, the path block, and the access to knowledge block. The intent classification sub-agent, we call them sub-agents just because the agent is the agent that you're deploying to the business, and these are the sub-agents that are working to help the agent. Now, so these are the instructions, and here we're just guiding the the agent to respond to the customer queries. The path are the routes that you want to take, you want the user to take when certain thing is happening. And we can say an LM description trigger this when the user has questions about our products or services. So when we asked something like, hey, what is do you sell these cameras, or what do you sell, or what is the price, it identifies that this is a question related to the product or service and takes this path. Same thing with the booking and same thing with account number. Very interesting is that you can provide a required variables that we're not using here. So for example, if you are looking for an account number, right? So you can create this variable like that. And before taking this path, it will ask us for the account number. So here we can say that input the account number that the user provides. So until the user provides his account number, it will not take this path. Again, we're not using that because here we have another agent where we're actually here asking for the account number. Here. Okay. So let me break down the agents, the sub-agents one by one. The service agent is very simple. We have the instructions and we have one path, which is other. So we are triggering this path when the user asking something that is not related to what is not related to the products or services. The reason for this is when we were, if you remember, right? So when we were on the asking about the products, and then when we said things like, I want to book an appointment, it transferred us to another agent, but it actually transferred us to the classify intent first. And once it did that, then it went here. So we need a way to exit this, this agent. What you can also do is you can do the success path. right? And you can say trigger this when you provide an answer to the user question. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. But the difference between, for example, this agent and this agent is that you give him an access to the knowledge base. In the knowledge base, we have three different folders. The first folder is the information that is updated through the API every day. Here we have a simple company information that is structured in the markdown format to make sure that the LLM understands it. And here we have a product information that it was querying to understand the prices. Okay. If we go back to the booking agent, this is where like the fun and the magic of the agent step is happening. Because besides the fact that we have instructions, access to the knowledge base, and the path, we also have the functions. Now, if it's easier for you to understand, like in compare it to the n8n, the functions are essentially the tools, right? Voiceflow does have a community marketplace for functions. It is not big, and obviously the internal n8n like marketplace for tools is much bigger and has more flexibility. But again, we are not comparing the software side by side in general, just because this is not even close on the capability for the like conversational experiences compared to like what n8n can provide. Okay, so the functions are built through the JavaScript. So you can create a function and you can input the function here. So I know that for some of you no coders, it might be hard to like navigate. Voiceflow does provide a really good documentation, and in the next few days, I am planning to publish a custom GPT for free that will help you to run and create Voiceflow functions, right? So you can just provide documentation and it will create the function for you. But if this video gets 100 likes, I will do that as soon as it happens. I will publish it on my LinkedIn, on the newsletter, as well as onto the next video. If it doesn't get the 100 likes, then I guess I'm not going to do that. So I think it's fair. Let me explain how it's working right now. We have multiple functions. For example, the first function is the book appointment. And here we're explaining when to run this function. Similarly to the n8n, where if you click on the tool, you have a description when you want to run this specific tool. You also have the input variable settings, because in the function right here, you have the variables that you want to input. If we are booking an appointment, we need to first have a meeting location, contact ID, title, and start date time. The meeting location is the location of either like digital meeting or the physical one. If you go to the one prompt, to the calendar settings, if you find the calendar that you're working with, for example, the general one, here if you scroll to the bottom, you will see that we have a meeting location, and the default one is the Google Meet. That's why when it was booking an appointment, right, it was generating the actually Google Meet link. So that's why we have a default. If we want to have a custom, aka the physical location, we can just type custom. Now, we don't want to do that, so let's keep it at default. Then we have a contact ID, because we cannot create an appointment with the user if we don't have this contact in our contacts inside one prompt. So we either need to find the contact or we need to create one. And that's why here in the LLM, we're explaining input a contact ID that you got after running the function get contact or create contact function. Okay. So now let's say we're like booking an appointment. We like verify everything. We have the start date. We have all the things, but it will not create it until we get the contact. So that's why it was trying to run the function get contact after we provided all the information and was asking for our email. Okay. And here we are saying, okay, the query is the input, the email that the user provided, or other search value. So if the contact exists, it outputs the contact ID. And now this function can use this contact ID to create an appointment. But let's say there is no contact, so the contact ID equals 0. That's why there is a third function run. If you see, if the contact couldn't find the contact, so we're providing the description to the LLM, and we are creating the contact using the phone, email, and name. Okay? And this is just a basic guideline for you to understand how it works. It was always asking us for a location to identify a time zone because this is very important. If you are working with a business that has a static time zone that is operating inside one state or within a certain country that only has one time zone, it's easy and you do not need, for example, this function. But this function is running an external time API to convert the location of the user to the time zone that is present. Because, for example, if we are mentioning something like Pennsylvania state, there is no Pennsylvania time zone, but there is an New York, like America/New York time zone. So it needs to match that. And this is why we have a separate function for it. And if you remember, I was also telling you that it can cancel an appointment and reschedule them. And this is what we did because we here have a cancel an appointment, right? Where we are getting the event ID. So we cannot get the event ID unless we get contact appointment. So when we say, hey, I want to, reschedule or cancel my appointment. So in order to do that, you need to get the event ID. Now, the AI LLM doesn't have the event ID. That's why it's it's running the get contact appointments function, right? So here, to get all the appointments of the user. Now, obviously, it cannot run this function unless we have a contact ID. So imagine if here we're saying, I want to reschedule an appointment. Okay, so we do not have an event ID, nor we have a contact ID, right? That's why it needs to find the contact first. So it will run the function that we already reviewed called get the contact. Okay, so and if the contact was not found, it will not create a contact because we're not asking to create an appointment. Rather, we're asking to cancel the appointment. So it will probably say that, hey, you need to check your email. I cannot find you in our system. And again, it's directly connected to the one prompt through the to the contacts as well as to the calendar. And one prompt is built on top of the high level. So inside the high level, you can create and connect your Outlook and Google Calendar and sync it together. And this has much more flexibility compared to something like here, where Google APIs do not give you that much different options, right? And you can obviously handle calendars like round robin or have multiple users with multiple calendars. That's why it's very convenient to use something like the one prompt, or if you're using high level, to use something like the high level yourself.